How does the government's alcohol reform package announced yesterday balance the need to reduce alcohol-related harm with the interests of responsible drinkers?
The Honourable Simon Power.
Mr Speaker, it does so because reducing the harm caused by alcohol is a significant part of the government's policy to reduce the drivers of crime. That's why we've adopted in full or in part 126 of the 153 recommendations of the Law Commission's report. Proposals to restrict opening hours, the number of licences and irresponsible advertising are not going to affect the majority of responsible drinkers. This government is not in the business of interfering in the lives of those who simply enjoy a drink now and then.
Supplementary. Further to the Minister, why does the government's package have a particular focus on youth drinking?
Mr Speaker, the government is targeting young people because, as the Law Commission reported, young people suffer a high and disproportionate level of alcohol-related harm. For example, the highest proportion of alleged offenders who are affected by alcohol are aged between 17 and 20. Mr Speaker, if a new law is to have any impact on the drinking culture, we need to start with our young people by putting measures in place to control both the supply of alcohol to youth and the environment in which they are drinking. We've done that by proposing an increase in age for off-licence purchase, limiting the alcoholic content and volume of RTDs, restricting drinking in spaces such as car parks and school grounds, and by backing the rights of parents to decide who should give their children alcohol.
The Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Mr Speaker, why has he failed to address the problem of retailers selling dirt cheap liquor, alcopops at $1.50 a bottle, wine as low as $5 to $6 a bottle, depicted as the dead elephant in the room, and these changes as the air freshener to colour the smell?
The Honourable Simon Power.
Well, Mr Speaker, we have not ignored those recommendations around minimum pricing at all. In fact, have made substantial inroads into discussing arrangements which need to be made for the collection of pricing and sales figures and data around retailers' sale of alcoholic products. And those matters will be considered by the Select Committee as part of an ongoing discussion about alcohol reform, which I'm pleased to see that the Leader of the Opposition has indicated he'll support at first reading.
Rahui Katane.
Supplementary to the Minister. Does the Minister agree that tamariki do what adults do? And if so, how will his reforms change the behaviour of heavy drinkers, 92% of whom are adults aged 20 and over?
Mr Speaker, yes, but there are a couple of issues with the statistic that's been quoted by the member. The first is that 96% of the population that are legally able to drink are over the age of 20. And secondly, setting a culture for young people who will eventually be over 20 is an important part of this package.
Sue Kedgley.
What is the government's logic for excluding casinos from the restrictions it is proposing to place on selling liquor after 5 a.m. in bars and clubs? And won't this exemption simply encourage people in Auckland and Christchurch to head off down to a casino when the local bar has shut and gamble as well as drink?
The Honourable Simon Power.
Mr Speaker, the reason is that Cabinet agreed with the Law Commission's recommendation that the status quo should remain, that is, quote, the Gambling Act 2003 allows casinos to sell alcohol for consumption in a casino during the hours the casino is open, regardless of the Sale of Liquor Act. But I can assure the member the government will listen to public submissions on this and other matters during the Select Committee process.
Rahui Katane.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister, will the Minister's reforms reduce alcohol consumption by Māori and alcohol-related criminal offences committed by Māori? And if so, what evidence or what advice has he received about the degree of such reductions?
The Honourable
Mr Speaker, yes, that is certainly the intention. The government's proposals are intended to reduce excessive consumption across the population, including amongst Māori, and subsequent alcohol-related harm such as criminal offending. As I've said in this House and in other fora, alcohol law reform is a key component of the Drivers of Crime program to reduce alcohol-related offending across the population.
Chester Borrows.
Further to the Minister, when will he introduce legislation to the House to give effect to the Government's policy announcement?
Honourable Simon Power.
Mr Speaker, it's my intention to introduce legislation to the House in the middle of October. If the Honourable Jerry Brownlee is in agreement, it's my intention for that bill to be read a first time before Christmas. The bill will be sent to a committee for a full 6 months, and it's my intention to pass that legislation prior to the end of next year.
The Honourable Jim Anderson.
Mr Speaker, did the Minister agree with the co-leader of the Maori Party, Tariana Turia, when she said, quote, "We know that putting up the price is a powerful tool to reduce smoking," end quote, and if so, why doesn't he think
Honourable
Mr Speaker, yes, because putting up the price across a product that always harms is an effective measure. Alcohol does not always harm.
The Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Mr Speaker, why does he not refer a supplementary order paper to the Select Committee considering the sale and supply of liquor bill? Or would that just remind the public that they've already submitted on local alcohol plans, parental consent for underage drinking, alcohol advertising measures and under 20-year-olds having a zero-drink driving limit?
Mr Speaker, I will not be referring an SOP to that bill, which was introduced by the previous government on the 6th of August 2008, but was not given a first reading in 12 sitting days, including 2 periods of urgency before the House rose for the election. This government gave that bill the first reading. This government gave that bill the first reading and sent it to a Select Committee. Unfortunately, Mr Speaker, it needs to be rewritten.
Question of order. I can't hear a member at the back calling supplementary questions.
No, point of order.
Oh, point of order, Sue Kedgley.
Yes, I seek leave for the liquor advertising television and radio bill, which regulates alcohol advertising, to be set down as a member's order of the day.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 4. The Honourable